Smart 24 and happy Women's Day. Of course, today is the day that we celebrate all of you women doing great work for this country and also for the globe. Welcome to Smart 24. And well, this is financial markets and it is still basically going on. And yes, that was Forex trading through the trading dawn with Marcelino, and now we're going to get into another session of basically finding out what's happening all across the globe in detail in terms of the stock market. So the stock market is basically so many big highlights coming up because of the oil price surge and also the commodities surge. And so it is really becoming quite interesting in a way because there is so much happening all across the globe. And in terms of also what we actually know is that the Russia-Ukraine war is setting precedent for so many other economic trends that we haven't seen since the 2008 financial crisis, and things and commodities like probably gold or oil are basically shooting to their highest, their 2008 highs. So it is really quite an interesting trend both in the economy and also Africa as well, and so much all across the globe. So let's just have a look at how all these international news are basically faring, because we need to look at how the stock market is performing as of late. All right, welcome to my screen, and as we're basically going to be giving you these live figures, it is very important to note that they're changing all the time, and we will continue to basically broadcast them for you all throughout the day. But for the start, let's just have a very good glimpse of what is happening all across the globe. And to start with, of course, news from all across the globe. We have the Russia-Ukraine war still happening, and it is still indeed affecting so many economic trends and shaping the trajectory of how investors are basically thinking at this point in time. And so it is going to be a very important thing to note, because right as we are basically looking at the global stock market and all that, it is important to note that it is a very key market to basically take our attention, because so much moves in the stock market globally. Yes, in Africa, we may ask, well, how is it really affecting us? But at the end of the day, somehow it is. So now let's have a look at some of the top headlines. And right here with me is Market Watch. And well, so now having a look at how oil is faring all across the globe, what soaring oil prices mean for the stock market as Dow trembles into correction. So soaring oil prices aren't the drag they used to be on the economy, but history shows sudden price shocks can still pose a danger to equities. Yes, it is very much possible, because the world today is a global market, and of course a lot is basically happening all the time. And so everything is interconnected in the economy. So even the politics is connected to the socio-economic issues, and so is it also connected to the economic activities and issues. So it is an interconnected system. It's an ecosystem of so many things happening at the same time. One is affected, the other is also affected. So what's more happening elsewhere? Americans have never seen gasoline prices this high. Yes, nor have we seen the pace of increases so fast and furious. Gas tops $4 a gallon. So that is also something worth noting right over there. So Well, the U.S. is basically also kind of actively involved in the U.S. in the Ukraine-Russian war, the Russian invasion in Ukraine, and there is so much basically happening in the world of investors. And as this continues to happen, we can see that the market itself is a bit, investors are a bit cautious and also wondering about a few things here and there regarding the future, the near future. Yes, of course, this is an event that can come to a close, and probably we may actually have most of the stocks getting back to pre-war levels. But it is important to note that the United States is at the center of this, and because it is banning, there are discussions to ban oil coming from Russia, the importation of oil coming from Russia into the United States. So that's why probably we see that there are so many fears and mixed feelings all across the globe, not only in the US, but even all across the globe, and also in Africa as well, because Russia seems to be a very important trade ally to Africa as well when it comes to oil in that regard. So still going down further, probably I'm working with my colleague, Moriat, and we're going to be bringing you the best of this production and broadcasting. So let's now go down to other news and probably have a look at what's happening just right over there. Yes, that is it for the Americans. So they're facing a very hard time where right now as we speak the price of oil per barrel is now over $120. Yesterday we saw it beginning the week with $130 price. So now, having a look at even more news, you can see here that the European market set to fall further as Russia-Ukraine fears persist. Yes, we've seen here in past, as we've been looking at the stock market indices, because they are representation of how many of these stock markets and companies have been performing. And so right here we have seen in Europe the stock market has been basically down, and many companies in terms of their share price has basically been dropping by far. And most importantly, companies operating in Europe have also been facing a lot of problems in that regard because of the war. And also the stock market has been closed for quite a while in Russia since last week. And well, it is indeed causing some drastic measures, some drastic impact. So looking right here, investors remain skittish after the US revealed active discussions with European governments about banning imports of Russian crude oil and natural gas. So this is a very key issue. And yesterday we saw that Elon Musk came up to say that probably the US should start looking internally in terms of oil production, and because of an anticipated kind of economic downturn to come. So such a move could pose a risk of stagflation, a period of slow economic growth and high unemployment coupled with high inflation for the global economy. So it isn't just about the United States facing the impact of this, but the globe as well. So the impact of war is basically always seen, and it will always come out through its impact. So as Canada is basically that, chain of countries, including Canada, the United States, the European Union, and many other countries, imposing sanctions on Russia, it is also causing some sort of domestic economic turbulence right there in Russia, because of this ongoing war. So it is really quite something really to note over there. Yes, so European markets pulled back again today as the prospect of a Western ban on Russian oil imports fuels concerns about inflation and a growth slowdown. Yes, so this is always the case because oil is a very important commodity that for centuries has been very much economically benefiting to not only individuals but to also countries. And we have seen that oil also kind of brings in oil reserves. It kind of brings in foreign reserves, and thus a country is able to have enough foreign exchange. And so when probably oil is basically, if probably we are suffering, then probably you will have, the demand will be high for the oil and yet there is no supply. So thus the price will basically be heightened and it will go up incidentally, and probably we will see some sort of inflation coming up and also economic growth slowdown, because so many companies, so many businesses just depend on oil, and even most especially the transport sector and some few sectors that probably use mechanization with the help of oil. So it is very important to note that that is basically what is up. But if you note, all the European indices have been down in the past few days, and we also saw that the Financial Times Stock Exchange in London was showing about probably 1 week ago it was gaining, but in the past few days it's been also facing a downward trend because of tensions that are still basically down, that are indeed impacting on countries. So just right as you can see right here, the Pan-European Stoxx 600 fell 0.6% in early trade, with autos shedding 1.5% to lead losses, as almost all sectors and major bourses slid into negative territory. So that is what happens when probably you have so much anticipation going on around something like a war. So it's never really an answer, but however, sometimes this is what we see around the world, including what we saw 3 years ago, like the US-China trade war that was at its peak in 2019, coming to 2020. And so that is a very important, those are very important events that really do impact on the stock markets. So now let's have a look at more news from basically from CNBC, because when you actually have a very clearer look into the stock market, we haven't seen any of them actually do gaining, and except that probably in France is where we shall see some kind of an upward movement in the stock market over there. So let's now get to other news. Probably my friend Amuriat can help me do that as we get to basically into the details of other news. So as you can basically see here as well, Russia warns oil prices could hit $300 a barrel if the US and Europe reject Russian oil, says the move would have catastrophic consequences. Well, crude oil has been basically trading between $90 a barrel and probably 100, the highest in the past previous months. But as probably right now, as we can see, it has shot up to, it began the week yesterday with $130 per barrel. And now if it basically hits $300 a barrel, this could be really catastrophic for the economy, for the economies in US and also Europe, and some bit of impact also in Africa. So Russia is basically strongly warning that the oil prices could hit $300 a barrel if the US and Europe reject Russian oil. Says the move would have catastrophic consequences. Now, the message came a day after US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken told the United States the United States was discussing a ban on Russian oil with Europe. So Russia is responding, saying that probably if you actually don't buy the oil, if you reject it, then probably oil prices could hit $300 per barrel. Well, this can be very consequential in terms of economic losses and downtimes as well. So having a look at other news all across, investors should sell any stock market rally over the next 8 weeks as Fed tightening and soaring energy prices pose huge risks, Morgan Stanley says. Yes, so that is basically, these are experts coming up to say that, well, of course, investors should sell any stock market rally over the next 8 weeks as Fed tightening and soaring energy prices pose huge risks. And I think, well, this is very important when it comes most especially from the experts in the industry. So that is really probably something that you could note. Yes, also here, Coinbase says it's blocked 25,000 Russian accounts as the crypto exchange steps up its efforts to stamp out illicit activity. So that is also happening around. Yes, so Business Insider is also telling us that Cathie Wood admits short-term defeat in her call for oil to plunge to $12 per barrel, but still expects prices to crash under the weight of lower demand. Okay, let's see what happens about that. So when we actually go down further, probably, yes, so right here, as you can see, just to have a market view of what these companies are, how these companies are performing, Business Insider is saying that probably you can have a glimpse of some of these stocks just right here. Yes, you can see over here that you have companies, just the likes of Microsoft, the likes of Netflix, and the likes of Apple. So if we can basically just go up, and have a look at the other indices, you will find out that probably all these companies, just like you see them, Netflix, they're all losing in terms of their share prices. Netflix down by 3.17%, and also Microsoft down 3.78%. So that is just a clear view of what is happening in non-oil stocks. Because when you look at the oil stocks, when you look at companies, energy companies, most especially in the United States, dealing in the production of oil, you find out that much of their stock has basically been hiking up in the past few days since the announcement that probably you could have much of Russian oil being banned, or probably Russian oil being the importation of Russian oil being banned. So that short local and domestic oil stock companies to basically shoot up because of probably a few people like Elon Musk also coming up to say we must boost production locally. And also, of course, for example, the administration a few days ago saying that they will actually ban Russian oil. The Dow falls 800 points as investors fear the impact of surging oil prices. So oil has an impact in the financial system. It has the capacity to basically impact on almost everything in the economy, as we have just seen. And so the Dow falls 800 points as investors fear the impact of surging oil prices. So major U.S. indices dropped Monday, while commodities, including wheat, nickel, gold, and oil, all surged as uncertainty grips markets. Yes, so you find that as stocks are going down, the commodities are instead going up. And we're going to be also having a look at the futures, or probably if maybe there is any future that is gaining in that regard. So the Dow Jones is down 800 points as we speak right now. That's because investors are basically fearing that probably there could be some sort of inflation due to surging oil prices in the U.S. economy. So now also having a look at other news still around the oil. The surging oil prices on the back of war in Ukraine is pointing to potential 22% downside for airline stocks. Yes, so that is what happens. Yes, so if you have a surge in oil, then probably it will directly impact on how the airlines companies are pricing, and thus impact on the consumer. And then probably even the investor will also fear for their money and probably pull out. And so this is a very important observation and also analysis, because it is really key because it's a chain reaction. It's always a chain reaction. The oil issue causes always a chain reaction. So let's now have a look at other important headlines. Well, just before that, let's just go for a very short commercial break, and possibly we're going to be right back with more. All right, we can basically just proceed, because we are about to actually get done as per the producer. So let's just head this straight and probably see what's basically happening. So what more in the news is that wheat prices soar to trigger trading halt for fifth straight day, surging nearly 50% since Russia invaded the bread basket of Europe. So that is also happening. Now, let's now get to other news. Probably my colleague Muriat can help me actually do that as we look at other important news in the stock market and also in the markets globally. Yes, so there is so much actually happening in the world of stocks, and well, there is indeed very much interesting news as well. And of late, we've been having a debate: what's the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war on Africa? So Africa has basically faced the impact by far, and we can see that the results are always seen. And so if probably you think it's not impacting, well, probably you were right, and not actually when you actually realize it is. So let's now have a look at other international news as they come in. Remember, these are basically live. These are all live updates of news. And so when you actually have a look, here, you can actually see a few bits of companies and how their share prices are performing. Just right about now, you can see here that Asian markets extend their losses as oil prices push higher. Yes, so that is also in Asia. So in Asia, markets are losing as oil prices push higher and higher because of the ongoing war in Russia. So in Ukraine. So Dow Jones futures for what to do after today's stock market dive as Russia-Ukraine war continues. So probably would you basically look into that as well, because many of these indices are basically falling down. But when you look at major companies here, major companies right here, for example, Apple, when you look at Apple, the share price is down by 3.87. Boeing, the same issue, down by 11.67 points. And also, if you look at the Berkshire Hathaway, the company that is Warren Buffett, it's also down by 2.62%, 2.26 points. And the Walt Disney is also down by 7.22, and the General Electric is also down by 3.68. The same for Nike, it's down by 6.74 points. So all these are indicating really huge losses. So now let's get into other news as they come in. Probably my colleague will help me do that. 2 top stocks to buy now for dividends and value amid market turmoil. Well, there is so much advice all out there on the internet regarding what to do in these times as an investor. But it is very important to note that you have to be indeed very careful, and also you have to indeed be very, very cautious. Let's now turn to other news. For example, the stock market indices. Let's have a look at what they are up to.